Jeremy Mercer, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Welcome,
How are you?
Welcome to the BFA podcast studio.
Yeah.
You and I have been chopping it up now for, probably close to a year.
Yeah.
Getting to know each other a bit more and doing some business together and trying to do business
Yeah.
together. But man, it's great to see you in here. You're one of our Apex executive clients as well at Break Free Academy, which is cool. And you, sir, are, I'll just say it, a real estate mogul, and you specialize in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
So you got some cool shit going on yourself, and in my eyes, I look at you as a very successful person, somebody that I can learn a lot from, and getting to see you work and operate in different environments tells me all I need to know about you as a person.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's a pretty nice intro there. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So, I joined Apex. I started off in Entourage actually, and I remember on my first call with Drewby, it was like he was like, "Hey man, you really need to be an executive," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know you guys that well yet." I was going to try this out. Then after about 2 months, I was like, "Okay, I need to be an executive." So made that jump, and this has been it's been a really interesting journey for me being in this because. The whole world of social media, all this stuff, like it was something that doesn't really exist in my world. You know, it's commercial real estate is a very close to the vest. My joke kind of is in Dallas. It's like, here's the cycle for commercial real estate. You grow up in Highland Park, you go to SMU, you move back to Highland Park, you get into commercial real estate, and it just over and over and over again, right? So that's a lot of the world in it. I don't live in Highland Park, obviously. I live pretty much across the street from you, almost in Prosper.
Right around the corner. Yeah, for those listening who don't know the area, Highland Park is a very exclusive neighborhood.
Yeah. So that's where a lot of the people I do business with end up. But there's no social media stuff with that. So I've been learning. So like when I signed up with Drewby, he goes, "Okay, so you get on Facebook, you do this." I was like, I don't even have this stuff. I was like, what? It was it's been a great experience, and it's given me a lot of tools to use that other people in my industry aren't using. Yeah. So it's been a pretty cool journey, and
that's cool.
Yeah,
I found the same thing when I came in because. Similar to you, I came for the company I owned was in an industry that nobody was using social media to take market share and make an impact and become an authority within an industry or space. Yeah. And I looked at it as like, oh, cool. I like what these guys are doing over there at Break Free Academy, Apex, Ryan Stewman, and like the model they've put together. They seem like pretty good dudes. All right, and I've always been a firm believer. What can I pick apart from that business, even though it's not in the same industry or vertical that I'm in? Yeah. What can I take from there and then plug into my business and see and watch it grow and make things better? And I think you and I both done the same thing there when it comes to leveraging social media to just tell the world what you do.
Yeah, no, it's all business is kind of the same when you break it down, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody has their little techniques and their trick that make them a little different in each niche and each marketplace. And, some of the things I found was almost just literally for me in commercial real estate, psychological warfare, right? I put a property out, someone's already negotiating on it, but it's not under contract. I put it out, they see it on my feed, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "We ain't agreed to, man. Like, I represent this guy. I don't represent your client, Yeah. And so there's some funny tricks like that have kind of come of it, the big thing that I've learned here too is, in my industry, it's a very scarcity mentality, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been able to scale some stuff really quickly with an abundance mentality, and I've been a broker for a long time, but I'm really shifting more into just a what I would call like a sponsor or private equity role. And, and what's great is I have all my competitors in the brokerage world. They're bringing me deals now.
Right.
Because I'm like, hey, look, I'm not greedy. You buy this with me. We do these things together. Let me show you. I'll show you everything I'm doing. Yeah. I don't care. You can take it and go do it yourself. I'm going to show you. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Or you can just do it with me, and it's really easy. And they're like, oh, great. Like, for them, selling a building to me is like, okay, we're under contract. What do you need me to do? Nothing. Yeah. I know how to do this. Go find a tenant, where sometimes when we sell people buildings, it's like, okay, I'll go get the roof inspected for you, sir. I'll go get the electrical done, which is, that's all part of the service, right? Sure. But like, but using that abundant mindset, and going all that, like I can just go to them and be like, hey, look, I'm not going to screw you. Mm-hmm. If you tell me something, I won't share it with anybody, you know? And that's been something that I think I've really picked up on being in Apex, is something that's talked about a lot. And so I use that.
Giving value.
Yeah. It's just all giving value. And there's so much out there for people to make money on. Like, I mean, it is literally for most people making money, it's just show up.
Yeah.
Like, you must be present to win. Like, it's like, that's why, I've learned that and implemented that into my business, and it's really working for me.
Cool.
So
listen, let's just cut the bullshit. You were a successful business owner and entrepreneur long before you found Apex.
Yeah.
But I think the tools that have been provided to you here and some of the people you've met, some of the things you've learned from others has been like, oh, okay, cool. Now I can go and dial in that final 1% and become elite of the elite within my industry or network.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's there's always room for improvement, right? We're humans. We always make mistakes. We're always, letting the ball drop here and there, but there's always room to improve things, get better efficiencies. And, we're all running a business, right? And we're all experiencing the same kind of trials and tribulations, and that's the great thing about this network. It's speed, right? It's, hey, I've got this issue, and then there's 5 people that are like, hey, I can handle that for you, know?
Or I've done that already.
Yeah, I've done that already.
Fix it.
And what's great is everybody's willing to, to give their time, right? And, a lot of times, y'all tag me as, hey, commercial real estate question, just call this guy, So, I was jumping on the phone on Monday with a guy in Iowa about an apartment building that he wants to buy. And I'm like, and we walked through the whole thing, and I totally did his underwrite, backed into it all for him, and we came to a conclusion really quick,
Right.
And I've gotten the same response to me when I've had a question. So, that's what's great about the network is like, it's not just, learning business things, but it's the speed at which you can
accomplish
things. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I've witnessed and experienced that personally myself. For instance, it was 1.5 years, 2 years ago at this point, I moved down here from New York. Okay, cool. Oh, I need to establish all these new things when I get there. I need a pest control guy. I need this. I need this. I need this. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And it was because of this network that I had those connections almost instantaneously when I said, hey, I need help with, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. Here's 3 options of people within our ecosystem or network that are local and can help you.
Yeah.
And then it was just, have a conversation with 1 or 2 of those people and figure out which one you align with best and move forward.
Right. No, exactly. And that's what's great about it. I mean, it's the speed, that's all we have, with the non-renewable resource we have is time, so if you can cut a lot of time out of something,
That's just, and people have heard me say this before, and I'm a firm believer, but that's just kind of the whole idea of a mastermind and or a business coach or mentor is to compress time.
Yeah.
Which, when you compress time, you're increasing the speed of something.
Yeah.
Right. So cool. Let's get faster at fixing this problem, getting that contract out, make this system on the back end better so we can bring a client through phase 1, 2, and 3. Instead of it being 30 days per phase, now we can cut it down to 22 days per phase.
Yeah.
Well, what's that going to happen? It's going to increase the movement, right, of your cash flow that coming back into you.
Yeah.
So if you can shorten that time, that window, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, it's, what's funny to me is like, I've never had a coach or a mentor or anything like that. And, it's, now I do. And, and it's pretty powerful, right? Like, it's funny, you grow up your life, you're in sports, everybody has a coach in sports, right? But no one, it's almost like a lot of people frown upon it for business. They're like, oh, you can't spend money on that. It's like, I also, it's funny, I also own a commercial roofing company and a commercial finish out company. And, I told my partners in there, I said, hey, you guys, we really need to get a coach, and I got looked like I had 3 heads, right? And so it was funny is one of the president of the roofing company, he at the beginning of the year, he's like, man, I got to drop some weight. So he hired a coach. Man, he dropped like 25 pounds, 6 weeks, got focused, dialed in, had a coach keeping him accountable. And so it was great the other day. I was like, so, hey, how'd you lose all that weight? I got this coach. I go, oh, really? Well, I think we should consider that for our business. And he goes, that's a great point. So like this afternoon, they're all meeting with Mike Claudio to maybe have him coach them through construction, you know? So,
solid choice right there.
Yeah. So, and, I have actually two coaches. Mark Zalmanoff's my Apex coach, and then Mike Claudio actually coaches me outside of Apex. And, just two phenomenal humans, you know? I mean, like, so that's what's great about it too, man. Is being around like-minded people that are, because we're weird. At the end of the day, we're weird, right? Like, it's, I remember I'm on 75 hard right now. The other day, my it was snowing. We've had all this crazy weather here in Dallas. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to go walk, and my wife goes, I just wish you weren't so dedicated sometimes. I was like, that's the game. That's the game I'm playing. You know what you married. So, yeah. And,
my wife gave up on that. I think after the third date, she's like, yeah, you're fucking weird, but I'm with you.
Yeah. It's funny. I've always kind of been like that. My wife has a whole little group of friends and all this stuff. And, we've been all friends since college. Like when she started dating me in college, they were like, that guy's a weirdo. I'm like, yeah, I'm just different. Y'all are like, y'all are just going through this cycle of these dudes that, and all those guys are gone. Right. Yeah. And like, I'm still here. And, so it's kind of funny. Just like, and, but now over time they're like, oh, okay, well, now we understand you, so, but, yeah, I do see that, like, entrepreneurs are different. They're always going to be different. But that's okay. You know what I mean? The world needs entrepreneurs, and the world needs people that aren't to work with entrepreneurs and be entrepreneurs, or
the
whatever.
World needs burger flippers and fried cooks too.
They do.
It's just a harsh reality, and I'm not trying to be a dick about it.
No, it is. I mean, hey, look, someone's got to do it, you know? And, but, you can get in a mastermind, or you can at least just get around one. They'll give you, damn near, it seems like you can get almost all the content for free, and you're just missing the connections by not joining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the whole mentality of all these things. Give. At
the end of the day, and I've said this to people before, is like, you can go and you can spend, let's call it, 50, 60, 70 hours, and you could YouTube every damn video or training or any of the shit that we talk about, and go find it someplace. But it's the amount of time that you need to then put into it, right? And now it's not sorted or organized. So you're getting it in bits and pieces here and there, and then you got to go and figure out, okay, how do I put this jigsaw puzzle together?
Yeah.
Whereas, okay, cool, come in here, invest your money, because it's an investment.
Yeah.
By the way, you can get a tax write-off for it too.
Sure.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
Invest that money. And okay, cool. Well, here's all those videos that you would have spent, 60, 70 hours researching on YouTube for free. But here's a sequential order, and these are the exact steps for you to follow to put this process in place. Yeah. And if you do what we tell you to do here, probably within, 4, 6, 8 weeks, you'll probably start to see some traction. Yeah. Especially if you have an existing business that's already doing cool things.
For sure. No, absolutely. It's it's the discipline of things, right? And everybody here is extremely disciplined. So it raises your discipline level.
Big time.
Which is, that's always been something that's, I've always had that, but it's even getting more dialed in now, and that's back to that, just getting that 1 more %, right?
It's the group of people you're around.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll give you for instance. Right now, as we record this podcast, Brandon Brittingham and Dan Constantino are running an event here, teaching real estate investment.
Yep.
Right, Airbnb stuff, short-term rentals, buy and hold shit, and 2 very accomplished guys. And Chris Whitehead and I are in the back of the room at the beginning of the event, and we see Brandon up there starting. And Chris goes to me, "Hey, look, Brandon's getting pretty yoked, isn't he?" And I was like, yeah, fuck he is. And matter of fact, I bumped into him yesterday. He was over at Cowboy Fit, and I was headed over to the Cowboy Club for dinner with one of my clients. And I was like, yeah, fuck, you know what? He actually is. He's looking good. And I'm thinking back to my journey. I'm thinking back to Chris Whitehead's journey. I'm thinking back to Brandon. Like when I came in here, when Chris came in here, when Brandon came in here, he was very successful in his business. Chris had things going on in his business and his companies. I did as well. But one of the missing pieces to finish out that discipline, right? Because it's all related, was taking care of you first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So look at me 4 years ago versus what I am now. If I showed you a picture side by side, you're like, who the hell is that fat fuck? Right. Same thing with Chris Whitehead,
Yeah.
right? And Brandon as well. It's when you start spending time around other high-performing individuals who put focus, effort, and energy forth every single day in the 4 key areas of life,
Yeah.
right? What happens?
Yeah.
And you start, oh, okay, you know what? In order to dial in that 1% a little bit further, I realize that I need to focus on me. And when I say focus on me, I'm talking about your mental and physical health
Yeah.
as well.
You're right.
Right. I mean, that's something that was huge in my growth and success.
Yeah.
Am I where I want to be at the end goal, the end result? Absolutely not. I don't think any of us are, because again, we're weird, we're aliens, and we have this moving target that continuously evolves as we do.
Right.
But it's been extremely beneficial to help get me and elevate me beyond where I was. Because if I hadn't started taking care of me, I don't think I would have gotten out of the level that I was at. I think I would have plateaued there.
Sure.
You know, you on the other hand, you were a collegiate athlete, so you had a lot of that, I think, discipline. In my perspective, in the conversations we've had, you've had a lot of that discipline early on in life because you had to be a high performer on a physical level when it came to playing football.
Right. Yeah. No, it was, I mean, that's what, it's funny. We Prosper, for instance, right? I mean, we live in a town where, I mean, your kids are growing up, you'll start seeing it. A lot of these parents worship at the altar of my kid needs to play collegiate sports, which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. I had a great experience. It was great for me. It's a job. It is a fucking job. I mean, my Mondays were 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. class, 12 to 1 lunch, 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. lift, 3:30 to 5:30 film, 5:30 to 7 team meeting, 7 to 9 practice. That was Monday. And then we dial it back a little bit past then. But I mean, it was every fucking day.
That's a lot, man.
And if you miss class, you miss a workout, anything like that, your ass is up at 5 a.m. in the bubble pushing boards or whatever it was, But yeah, it taught me a lot of that, and because you're competing, right? Too. It's someone's trying to take your spot. Yeah. And they're bringing in someone new every year that's going to take your spot. They're looking to replace you every year. You know what I mean? So that's the harsh reality of it. And you know what I noticed was what really kind of helped elevate me there was, in high school I was the badass, right? When I went there, like everyone was the badass, and then some people were just like men among that group of boys. You know what I mean? And those are the guys that were in the NFL. And but yeah, it's that. I was on a grind at an early age, and I do think that helps. But there's a lot to it, and I paid physically for it for a lot, and I mean I literally had my ankle reconstructed, 7 months ago, and that was just finally caught up with me from that stuff. So, but yeah, it that happened at an early age, and and then it just kind of it imprinted through life that's how I got to operate.
So let's go back to early age a bit. What was the prep work like? When did you realize you wanted to go play college football?
So it was, I mean, I started playing tackle football in first grade, and that was what I did. I grew up, and then I, kind of really started becoming something of it. And then my brother was always a big influence, in my life. And my brother is 6 years older than me. And, so he's kind of coming up at the same time. And so my brother received a scholarship to go play Division I football, and he went to Rice. And, and so I was like, okay, man, this is what I want. I mean, this is all I want to do. This is all I think about. I mean, I remember my junior year in high school, I had a girlfriend, and I broke up with her. And I think she thought I was bullshitting her. Yeah. But I go, hey, I can't date you anymore. She's like, why? I go, you're just a distraction for football. And I was like, this is all I care about, And so I think she thought I was kidding her, but I wasn't. I was like, you're just I don't need your phone calls. I don't need to see you. Like, I'm just doing this. And so, but like, I really, when my brother started playing in college, I was like, okay, man, like this is what I got to do. Cause my brother did it. Right. You know, so, I mean, me and him were together every single day, working out twice a day in the summer, so a lot of my discipline came from him starting off then, because he had that extreme discipline because he was so determined to become a collegiate athlete. And so I mean he instilled a lot of that framework in me in the beginning. So but that's what we I mean we always joke about a day where, I mean, it was literally just pouring rain and we pulled tires every day, you know, and it's like, okay, we're pulling tires. It doesn't matter what the weather is. We're pulling tires. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we committed to doing, and we're going to do it. And so that's kind of what so then at that point, man, I'd get the programs of every team. You know, I remember my brother played against Ohio State, and I had the program from the Ohio State game, and I tell you every guy what their size was, where they're from, you know, what their year was, all that stuff, and so it just became an obsession, you know, and that was like, this is all I want to do.
So what college did you go to? How long did you play for, and around what time? What year was it?
So I went to Texas Tech. I did not receive a scholarship there. I ended up walking on. I had to. It came down to either going to West Point or going to Texas Tech, and so my brother went to Rice. There's no females at Rice, or none that you would want to date.
Yeah,
and
you didn't want the same experience.
With
West Point.
Yeah, so I didn't want the same experience. He didn't want the same experience for me. He was heavily involved in my recruiting, and Tech had a pretty good selection. And then West Point was the other alternative, which is great. You know, it's a very prestigious, you know, thing to get an appointment to an academy and all that stuff. But my dad was in the Army. He's like, hey, man, look, if you want to walk on at Tech, you know, then go do that, you know. Yeah. So I did that. I was always undersized, so that was kind of my issue for my position. And I played 97, 98. My ankle was getting pretty bad at that point. They told me that actually it wasn't my ankle, it was my Achilles at the time. You know, back then there wasn't physical therapy and all these things we have now. Starting in high school, I used to get a cortisone shot in my Achilles once a month. So my right Achilles kind of deteriorated a lot. They're like, hey, you got to drop your weight and you stop playing. You're going to rupture this in the next 12 months. And I was like, well, I'm not going to the NFL, you know. So I kind of had to just put it away then, you know. So
that must have been a tough transition.
Yeah, it was very. It was pretty weird, you know. It was like that was 17 years of my life.
Yeah, just your entire life is football. Yeah. You're literally giving up females for football.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, oh fuck! If I don't get rid of football, I'm going to be hurt forever.
Right, and it was weird. I was like lost, right? You know, I remember one day I was sitting in my apartment. You know, I lived with 3 other guys on the team. You know, they were all at practice.
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting there like, is this what normal people do on 3 o'clock in college? You know, like this is, you know. So it was an adjustment period, but you know, I'd made my peace with it, and I was like, you know, hey, there's other things in life, and you know, so it just kind of moved on from there. Yep. But it was a transition, and you know, it's something really cool. I'll tell you something really cool that came out of Apex that. For me, you know, I started a Facebook group, right? I'll be honest with you. No one in commercial real estate would buy into it. They just, like, we pushed it forever, back to the scarcity thing, right? Yeah. But there's a guy in there that we started talking a lot. Well, he played football at Texas Tech, a little younger than me. I was like, hey, man, let's just go to lunch. Like, yeah, he was like, yeah, great. So we're sitting there, we go to lunch. Then we find out the next day there was actually a meeting with all ex-players. So we were just like, we all started texting, right? And we go to this meeting, and then it was like, I see all my buddies that and then so I was like, I told him, hey man, you should start a Facebook group. So now we have this badass Facebook group for ex-players where everything's announced. That meeting was last year. We had 20 people there. We had this same meeting 2 weeks ago.
60,
there was
100.
75 people there. I'm standing in line, and I wouldn't have thought about this if I wouldn't have been in Apex, you know, to like push him to do the Facebook group. Then we talked to Zach Hughes. I was like, hey man, like elite meet, like all that stuff. Yeah, that's a transition. We have the same thing, and we're not getting shot at and shit, but like it's that's all you think about. So like we're working on now implementing things for players there to transition out, be like, hey, look, man, and we do it after our whole thing is like, you do it after pro day, because that's when the dream gets crushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, got it.
And it's like, hey, man, you're not going to the NFL, you know, pretty long shot. Here's your other alternatives, you know, in life. So we're really trying to grow this network, and it was great. We were at lunch the other day, and I mean, I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting with all my buddies, and there's this older gentleman behind me, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm Jeremy, and he goes, hey, I'm Jesse Pruitt. I was like, I know who the fuck you are. Like, he he's a god in my world, right?
Right.
I just didn't, I would know him if I saw him, but like just being in this room with him, I didn't realize he played football there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's developing 150 million square feet right now, so I had coffee with him yesterday, I mean, it's like, it was great just, getting in these networks and doing these different things, but a lot of that, I mean, I helped push a lot of things I learned in Apex onto a good friend of mine who's kind of running all this for us now. I'm like, hey, look, do all these things these guys do. Like, they do this stuff and it works, and we're having our spring game. We're going to have 200 something dudes there. Like, they're all like, hey, we're going to be there. It's like, so it's really neat and interesting. So, and what's great about it is, they're including all of us, because at the end of the day, man, like, dude, when August rolls around, like, I still identify as a football player. Like, that's in my mind,
It's like time to go practice.
Yeah, it's like, and for the last 7 years, I've been coaching my son's tackle team, and it's like, I'm done because he's in junior high now. And then, so it's like,
now again, there's a transition. Like, cool, I coached for 7 years, and now
it was over.
That's not needed.
I think that was me. Like, I literally told people when we were doing that, I said, hey, come August, I'm really going to be about 50% here until November, because I'm coaching football. And like, we are serious as shit about this stuff here, And it was, and it was crazy, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to have that this year. But what I ended up having was this network of all my friends getting everything back together. So we'd go to games. We all had tailgates together, So it was great to, like, get that part of my life back. And now the way they've set the network up, it's never going to go away, right? So
very cool.
So that was some cool things that Apex did for me outside of business.
Yeah, and you never even thought in a million years that could have happened, would have happened.
No, it was all because of getting on Facebook.
All social media, imagine that.
Yeah, so it's crazy. The devil, right? Everything's just the devil, right? That's because they're only focusing on the devil of it, right?
That's just it. I mean, Grant Cardone said this in a book he wrote years ago that impacted me tremendously. He goes, you have two choices with social media. You can either use it or you can be used by it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Duly noted. I know exactly what the fuck I need to do now.
Yeah.
Am I going to get on Facebook occasionally and waste my time and jerk off? Sure I am, because we all do it.
Yeah.
Okay? If you tell me you don't, you're a liar.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to, living and dying by that calendar, which is something that you and I both do.
Yep.
I'm going to go in there and be very intentional. I'm going to pop in there in the morning. I'm going to write my content, drop my post. Cool. And then we're here right now. My phone is next to me.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it.
Right.
Because I'm here focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
It's funny. Speaking of Facebook posts, I dropped one this morning, and the headline I wrote was "Time management is bullshit."
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I have a whole chapter dedicated to time management and studying your time in my first book.
Yeah.
Which I do believe there is some value and weight there.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit of a shift in thinking, and I think this is just an evolution of me too.
Yeah.
If you focus on the right thing, focus is a superpower.
Yeah.
And when you wind up focusing on the right thing, time management becomes irrelevant, because your time is going to get filled up with the tasks that you need to do because of your focus.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are worried about, well, what do I do? How much time do I spend? Stop.
Yeah.
Just fucking stop.
Yeah.
What is it you're trying to do?
Right.
Like, what's that end goal? And I'm not saying it has to be the 15, the 5, or the 20-year goal. Stop. Like, what's the goal between now and the next 30 days?
Yeah.
And focus and do everything you need to do to get that goal achieved in that next 30 days. Yeah. And I guarantee you, your calendar will fill in itself.
Yeah. No, it's, for me, I get a lot of opportunities thrown at me a lot of times, and it's real hard to, everything's a shiny object sometimes, right? And, when you talk about really focused intensity on something, I've kind of, one, I learned about core values from your book, and then I learned about it when me, you, and my assistant sitting here that one day, and you just laid it all out. And, one thing I've always said, because I've lived my last 12 years on the streets on buildings, is there are no part-time gangsters, and so now when I look at something, I'm like, oh, hey, I could go do this. I'm like, well, that's going to make me part-time in that, and it's going to make this part-time, so I can't do that because this is what I'm fucking doing, and I'm a fucking gangster at this shit, and like, no, so I think that's being very clear on what you want to do will will keep you in your lane. And to your point, time management at that point is like, it doesn't what does it matter? This is all I'm doing. What do I have to manage? This is, I'm just managing the subtasks of this main task,
Correct.
and So that's kind of my gut check for me, and that's actually, for my private equity company, that's our first core values. There's no part-time gangsters. Don't fucking show up and bring something. I had the opportunity to JV an apartment complex development the other day, and I just went, you know what? No, this is not what I do.
Yeah.
And sorry guys.
Yeah.
See you later.
What you're good
you
at.
can buy the land that I own that you want to do this on, but I ain't gonna fucking do it. So,
Speaking of real estate, you yourself, not only are you a broker, but you're an owner as well. You've got a lot of stuff going on in that area. So how did that all begin, and how did you get into the game yourself?
So, this is kind of a long, drawn out story. So, I started. I got out of college. I graduated. My degree's in finance with a real estate emphasis. I always wanted to be an agent. I wanted to be a sports agent, and then I got in college, and I was like, I don't want to be a fucking agent. Okay. So then I went and worked for my dad. My dad had a little steel company doing distribution stuff, and then I was working there. I was like, I'm never gonna make any money working here for you. So I went off, and music's a big part of my life, and I ended up buying this rehearsal studio, and I was like 23 years old, and I still own it today. So fuck, that's like 20 years. And I got this 20,000 foot building down in Dallas. It's full of 20,000 feet of beers and bongs, right? So all these musicians in there and all this stuff. So I'm in there, and I figured this deal out at 23. I wanted to buy the business, and I was actually a tenant there. And the owner came to me, and he said, "Hey man," he was like 65, totally disconnected from the fucking music scene. He said, "Hey, music, real estate, you're kind of doing some real estate." I started buying like a house, and I bought a house and all this shit that I was trying to lease out. And he said, and I always talk to this guy. And he goes, "Why don't you buy this from me?" I was like, "Okay." So I couldn't figure out how to. I didn't have the money. I got in a car wreck, and I got like 30 grand from this car wreck, and I just had it sitting in the bank. That was all I had. And I said, "Well, okay, I've got 30 grand. He wanted 160 grand for it, but it was all non-credit tenants, right? So the bank wouldn't loan any money on it. But then I got my brother, and so what had happened is my brother went to work for my dad, got into the steel business, left the steel business, got into commercial real estate, right? So again, this is me naturally kind of following the progression of my brother.
Yeah.
And I went to him, I said, "Hey man, I think we can buy this building, or you can buy the building. I don't have the money to buy the building. You can buy the building, and I can lease it from you." And so got that, boom. Then he started buying more buildings. So then I started managing all the assets, So I'm sitting there managing tenants here, managing in there. So I did property management from about 24 to about 30, 31. And he's like, "Hey," and I got burnt out on it, right? And so I was like, "Hey, well," he goes, why don't you start brokering?" So started brokering, then came out the fucking gates hard. I was Dallas Business Journal Rookie of the Year my first year, all that shit, man. I just lived on the streets forever. So I would say, and I'm always slanging these old ass industrial buildings. Like no one gave a fuck about industrial buildings, back in this time, right? Well, the Amazon effect started happening, right? Okay. And then I think all these private equity companies went and said, "Hey, we want these urban infill, last mile core assets," and then boom, right into my territory, right? So I start selling all these private equity companies buildings, and I'm living there. Literally. I put some deals together that I was just like, I just made this motherfucker $5 million. I can do this shit.
Yep.
Like, I can do this. And so we had always bought buildings here and there, right? When we got a hell of a funnel. I got 20 25-year-old ex-college football players, Ivy League dudes out on the street fucking hustling, right? I just got to sit at the office and wait for them all to come back from the end of the day, and they bring me deals, right? But so we'd always be buying these deals, and I just and then I figured out how all the private equity did it, and I told my brother, I was like, "Hey, we got to do this differently," and he kind of had his group of investors doing his thing, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'm just going to start my own," right? And so I started just raising. I did my first little deal, is like any deal, right? It was $500,000 deal, and it's biggest pain in the ass, and most fucked up deal I ever had. The city gave me all the shit on it and all this stuff, but ended up working out. And then I just said, "Okay, man, I did one. Like I can do another one." And then I just got talking about the network. I was like, "Well, shit, I kind of have a couple buildings now. I need a portal." So I put up a post. I was like, does anybody in here that does syndication have a portal? And Jeff Ducharme was like, hey, try this one. This is one we use. It's fucking awesome. I was fixing to spend all this money on Juniper Square and all this stuff. Yeah. But at that point, I was just like, you know what, man? I'm great at acquisitions. I know how to do this. I know all the shit that's going to happen on these buildings. I've done this. I've done so many building sales for other people. Yeah. You know, because about this time, at this point in time, man, dude, I've already repped like, 8 to 9 million square feet of property, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just do this. So, man, I started scaling last year hard as fuck. And we bought 35 million last year. Goals to buy 100 million this year. We've already bought 10 and close to contracting a pretty good amount to get us close to 100, and that's at the end of last year, man, I closed the $12 million deal I bought on, New Year's Eve.
Hell yeah.
So, it's really, I know how to do it. And so the way I go to my equity partners were really all my ex-real estate clients, you know? And so I've really kind of started transitioning out of brokerage on the prospecting side. I'll work deals that I want to work with people I want to work with. I mean, like literally walking in here, I got a text from a guy. He goes, hey, I'm looking for this. I knew that was not a deal I wanted to work on. I just wrote him back and said, hey man, I don't really broker anymore, more on the principal side. Let me know if you want somebody in my office to help you. I can't focus on that, right?
Yeah.
And
that's just a natural evolution and progression path, I think.
Right.
As someone who's continually evolving in their space.
Right. It is. And it's what's great about it though now is like back to the abundance thing. It's like, man, dude, I got all my competitors in the market now bringing me deals. Just because I'm willing to share everything I do with you. You can copy everything I do and go do it yourself, or you can just bring it to me and we can buy it, whatever, And so they're like, oh, that's easier, Same thing with my investors, right? My investors are like, hey, I want to invest in real estate. I'm like, okay, well, do you want to invest or you want to operate,
Big difference.
I'm fully integrated on the operations side, You own a furniture company or a trucking company, So, you want to go be a part-time gangster, right? I can sell you a building, you can go deal with it.
Have fun with the property management.
Don't call me on that. So that's what it kind of evolved into. And so funny thing about it, so we have our brokerage, which is the Mercer company, and my brother owns that brokerage, and he's got a partner in that, and I've always been like our top producer. And then so I had a joke, right? I own this fucking entity. It's called Capital Equity Capital, right? My joke was all these fucking private equity companies have capital, all this shit in their name. Yeah. And I remember I was sitting there talking to Drewby one day, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm starting this CRM." He goes, "I wanted to call it Call the Damn Leads." He goes, "But that's not really scalable." And I go, you know what? Capital Equity Capital is probably not scalable because it was just a joke for me though. Because my bank would call me and ask me about an account, and they would have to say all that. Yeah. Hey, we're calling about the Capital Equity Capital account. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
It's like Elon Musk. He started the joke company, which was the Boring Company.
The Boring Company, yeah right. And so, anyways, it's funny. One day I told my wife, and my wife works with me a lot and does a lot of the accounting end of it, and I go, man, we gotta get a name we can scale. And I was like, oh, is there any kind of Texas Tech tie-in we could do, right? And I've seen, I didn't assume that Matador would be available, and if you're not from Texas Tech, Matador was the original mascot of Texas Tech, and then they changed the Red Raiders in 23 or something. Anyways, whatever the date was, and I'd seen some oil and gas companies called like Matador Resources, Matador Capital stuff, or Capital Partners or whatever. And my wife goes, well, hey, the website's available. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Don't get it.
So I was like, lock that shit down. And then she got on SOS, and she's like, the name's available. So I was like, well, it's fucking done. So so then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna have capital at the end of my name, and I'm gonna be those guys, right? But I was like, but I got to scale this, right? So but now I'm having conversations with a lot, higher level equity partners and all that stuff, and so. And John Hiley built my website. It's badass, and
he's awesome.
Yeah, so there's the network right there. Like, I mean, if I would have taken that website to go to someone else, they would have raped my ass on it. And John's team's awesome. Yep. They've taught us how to just update it now. It's like Legos, right? It's just plug and play. So that's back to the power of the network.
Yeah, I did that with John too. John's story, he's been on this podcast too. So if you guys want to go check out John Hiley, he's been on a couple episodes here. Stellar guy. I had gone and had a website built, and when I wrote the first book, it was thomaskeenan.com, and yes, it's a shameless plug. Go check out the website. So I had the website built, spent all this fucking money, and it was built on WordPress, which is still it's a great platform. But someone's got to go in there and manage that motherfucker all the time. Who knows what they're doing?
Yeah.
Do all the updates, and I was paying money out every month for maintenance on this thing. It's like, all right, well, it's kind of like my personal brand. It's not a real business that's generating, significant cash flow, and it's at this point, it's an expense.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Is what it is. I wrote the book. I need the structure there, so when people do Google search me, that I pop up. So John comes and he's like, "Hey, man," and he had gone through this transition coming out of the dent trainer industry, right? Paintless dent removal, and he was doing all marketing for those guys exclusively. Then he figured out, oh shit, if I can just change my systems and processes around a little bit, I can actually do plug and play badass websites for any industry.
Yeah.
So he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, man, I want to do a website for you. So just let me know and we'll just do it."
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I said, "Hey, here's all the login credentials and shit to my existing site." He gave me 3 options, right? He went out and said, "Hey, because I know John very well. I've coached him for over a year at this point, almost 2 years. And he knows me as a person as well, not just, Tom, the guy from BFA.
Right.
And he's like, "All right, these 3 individuals are very similar to your brand." Those 3 big name people. I think one was Grant Cardone, one was Dean Graziosi, and a couple other people. And they were some like badass websites. Yeah. And he's like, "These are all built on WordPress, and I guarantee these guys probably paid 25, 30 grand each for these sites."
Easy.
So he's like, "Here's what we're gonna do." He goes, "I'm gonna go in there and steal them."
Yeah.
Like, "What do you mean you're gonna steal them?" He goes, "I'm gonna literally clone their website and drop it into my custom built platform that I had built.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be able to take that exact template, but then drop your images and your copy into it. Yeah. So you'll have a $20,000, $30,000 website for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
Do you want to do this?"
Right.
I couldn't pull out my fucking money fast enough to give it to him.
Yeah.
So, his whole team did the transition, switched everything over. And here's this. And by the way, one of the issues that I was having with WordPress is I had so many blog posts and images uploaded that it was slow. Yeah. So you'd go in there and you'd hit, click on this image, and the spinning wheel of death would come in.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's crazy. So now this new website is lightning fast. You click on it and boom, it's there. It's operational. So definitely go check them out. John Howley.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Every time we buy a new building, they've trained us on how to just load up the images, load up the stuff. We brought our blog posts on there and all that stuff. And it was a very easy process, right? It was like, "Hey, give me 3 guys that you're similar to."
Yeah.
Boom. Next thing I know, I got our website, So yeah, John was incredible to work with. So, but, talk back to your shameless plug in your book. One big thing I learned in here was really the emphasis on core values. And you talk about focus. The core values makes it really easy. So if you're not using that shit in your business, like jump down, turn around, and go write it down and figure it out. Like get it done now. And it was I had a building under contract earlier this year, back in December. And it was a great deal. It was 16,000 foot building. The guy was going to lease it back for 10 years from me. I was getting it because I had a building down the street I was listing for someone, and I knew what that was fixing to trade at. Very similar product. I was getting this like $60 a foot under market on 16,000 feet. It's a lot of fucking money, right? I was like, I'm gonna make a lot of money real quick. But the guy was always shady as shit, right? And there's some things that went down, and I ended up finding out he was under contract with me and someone else at the same time. And I was just like, fuck this, I'm out, right? I don't want to do business with you. And then he came back to me in January because that other group fell out, right? They probably got wind. I was like, well, I got under contract too, and I'm out, so they probably were like, we don't want any part of this. Yep. And he came back to me, and he's like, hey, I got another offer from another group, and I knew the other group that had it, and I was like, man, if they're buying it, I probably need to buy it. And I'm like, getting all deal. And then I just went back to one of my core values, and I said, we operate with integrity. This guy has none, and I don't want his building. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I can
more
make
deals out there.
Yeah, there'll be 5 next week. So that makes things really clear and easy to deal with, once you can get that clarity, man, and and I learned a lot of that from just emphasizing our core values. And so
Yeah.
now my team thinks we're a cult. You know,
You are.
Yeah.
It's culture.
Yeah.
It's how you start building culture inside of a company.
Yeah. So it's I make it a goal once a day if we're not meeting that I just send them our core values through a text, or I just screen record myself and send it to them. And they're like, they're like, all right, here comes the crazy cult. And now they're responding back with it like, hey, I haven't got your text yet, so I'm going to go ahead and be the cult leader today and send it back, so everybody's buying into it.
That's buy-in. Yeah, it's a game changer. You got to start. I'm a firm believer that as a leader in the company, you have to coach your own people too, right? And you have to coach your own people on the core values and situations. Hey, you emphasize or you lived out this core value in your actions by doing X, Y, and Z. Or on the flip side, and I always like to do that publicly. Yeah. On the flip side, hey, someone's not holding their weight. Yeah. You pull them aside privately, like, yo, we got a coachable moment here. Sit the fuck down. We're gonna have a talk. This and this and this transpired, and you are not living in congruency with the core values that we've established, and here's why. Yeah. Right. It just simplifies everything.
It really does.
It's like, hey, so-and-so needs to go. All right, why? Can you tell me what they did? Well, that core value we have that says, we do the work? Yeah. That's one of ours over here at Brick Academy. Yeah. 3 times now, so-and-so said they were going to do the work, and they didn't have the work done. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now you just broke 2 of our core values. Matter of fact, you broke 3 of our core values. Yeah. 3 times? No bueno. Yeah. Right? The same thing in your college football team and then the pro athletes. I have more people who want to come in here and work for me than I can go through and handle. Right. So trust me, I don't care what it is you do for me. Yeah. Like, I can replace you very quickly. Yeah. And I don't like using that or pulling weight doing that, but it's the harsh reality. Yeah. We're using a new hiring software right now. Yeah. And I have over 1,200 fucking applications in less than 2 months. Wow. Okay. So to say that I've dialed in the hiring process and how to attract the right people to us, and I don't take all the credit for that because the work that was done, the groundwork that was laid out years before I came here, especially from the founder, Ryan Stewman, the following that he has built, the culture that he has instilled has allowed that to transition or build up into what it is now. Right. I'm just a guy who came and put the right process in place. Yeah. Cool. You got all this cool shit going on over here and it's a big fucking rat's nest. Yeah. I'm going to put a couple of processes in place and start to streamline things. Yeah. And it's just wild to see what happens, man. You get the right people coming in, but going back to it, it's like the whole hiring process, all I'm doing is seeing if you can follow simple directions. If you can't follow simple directions, you're immediately disqualified. And then if you can follow simple directions, you're going to get on a Zoom interview with someone here on the team at first. Yeah. And the questions we're going to ask you are situational based questions that are in and around core values. Yeah. I'm trying to get who you are as a person out of you in a 15 or 20 minute talk. Yeah.
Well, it's you've probably heard this before. Well, that's not my job description, Well, core values, you agreed to the core values on the front end. So that was part of the job description, Yeah. Is it pretty unbelievable how many people probably can't read and follow the directions you put up on trying to find?
Dude. Ryan has a saying that he's been throwing out for the past couple of weeks, and I laugh every time. I almost like snort laugh because I think it's so funny. And he just walks around, and I put up a screenshot like a day or two ago. Somebody applied for a job, right? And the process works like this. You apply for the job. Once you submit your entire application packet, the system sends you an automated email and says, are you still interested in this job? If you don't reply back yes, you're fucking dead to me. So this guy replies back to it, yes, I'm still interested. However, could you please send me the job description again because I need to review it? No. Yeah. No. So I take a screenshot of this and I'm like, I wrote some caption on an Instagram story that I posted, and I was just like, what in the fuck is this? So Ryan sees it. He DMs me, and he simply DMs me, dumb don't know. Yeah. Right. And I could have shot snot rockets out of my nose laughing so hard when I read the message.
Right.
He just nailed it.
Yeah. No, it's I remember hiring somebody one time, and I put up this is back when you used Craigslist for that shit, right? And so I put up an ad, and this was like during 2009. So the world was in hell, right?
Yeah.
No one had a job in 2009. I had like 450 applicants through there. So I immediately weeded them out by if you had a college, like it was just an admin position. Like, I mean, I had people with master's degree applying because, everyone was unemployed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, you're not going to be long term. This isn't, So anyways, got through that. Look for a misspelled word on a resume. Just any kind of little attention to detail they didn't, do. And I literally looked through every resume of 400 resumes. And so I got down to about 200, and then I had an online assessment test. And so I sent the test to all 200 people. 75 of them took it. Out of the 75, 13 were worth interviewing. Out of the 13 worth interviewing, 6 responded to an interview. And then out of that, I had 2 that I liked and picked one. But I was like, it's the people that got all the way to fucking 13 and then didn't even respond to the interview. Yeah. I was just like, really?
It tells you all you need to know there. So a couple of things that could have happened there is you could have warned that person out this is ridiculous. I want a job.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to do the work to get there.
Right.
So cool. You're not willing to do the work now. What happens six months from now when I really turn the heat up on your ass?
Right.
So no, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Totally cool with it.
Yeah.
So the way that I work it is the resume, you have to upload it and send it in to the system. And by the way, if you want to take a look at the hiring software you use, go to wisehire.com/Apex. We are an affiliate for them, and they will give you a 10% discount on the software if you use it. So anyway, the way it works is that automated email gets kicked out. I am not looking for your resume. All I'm looking for is there's a resume tab. I click on it. Do I see that you uploaded the resume? Cool. I'm not reading it. I don't give a fuck where you went to school, where you're from.
Yeah.
Actually, I do care where you're from because we only hire locally. But I'm not sifting through that resume. That's for much later on in the hiring process.
Sure.
I'm just looking to see that you did the basics. Hey, I asked for a resume to be uploaded. Did you upload it?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, you're going right to the disqualified pile.
Right. Yeah. No, it's as simple as I remember I put up a post up for somebody to hire somebody, and I said, send an email. I didn't even post it. Isabella posted it for me and said, send an email to her.
Yeah.
Well, people were responding in the comments. Hey, that'd be great for this. I'm like,
no, you wouldn't.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. You already failed.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Absolutely. I do the same thing. Every so often I pull a one-to-one coaching client. So I have a handful of executive clients who I still coach in Apex executives, and every so often I will put out an offer in usually Apex Entourage. Hey, you have to have these pieces of criteria, right? You got to be at least a 7-figure a year company. You have to have X, Y, and Z already in place. And if you don't, I'm sorry, I'm just not the right guy for you.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience or the wherewithal to take the guy who's not doing that yet, who's still head down deep into his business.
Yeah.
No, you're not my ideal client to work for. And I learned that because I worked with enough of those guys to realize it wasn't the right thing.
Yeah.
But I put out this post, and I'm about to do one in the next couple of days too, because I just had 2 clients that moved on. I got them elevated and they did some cool things. One guy just leveled up into executives. Yeah. And I was like, cool, man. I did my job. I took you from entrepreneurs. I worked one-to-one with you for 6 months and got your business humming along with you. And now you're doing so well, you came into executives. Awesome.
Yeah.
But in this post, and my whole point here, that long-winded and drawn out this fucking talk is right now, I put in these criteria in the post. Hey, this is what you need to have in place already. And if you're interested, I need you to comment this exact word below. And sometimes I'll put winner or coach with Tomas. Yeah. And it's got to be in bold, right? So if you don't do exactly what I tell you to do, even if you comment below or slide into my DM, I already know that I'm not going to waste my time with you. No offense, because you didn't follow the simple directions that I gave you. Yeah. If you can't follow the simple directions that I gave you now, same thing with hiring and getting people on your team. Yeah. And this goes into coaching area too. If you can't follow the simple directions I gave you to begin working with me, what happens 3 months into this relationship when I give you some action items to do? Yeah. And you're just not going to go do them? Yeah. So one of my core values, actually it's not even my core value, it's my purpose. Yeah. So I help others succeed in business. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons I'm here sitting in this seat today, because I get to help Stuman succeed in business. I get to help guys like you succeed in business, and everyone else who's here in the office is clients, team members, the whole 9 yards. If I'm going to take money from you, right? depending on the package we put together, it's anywhere from $5 to $10 grand a month.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm going to take that money from you, because we're not talking like peanuts here, we're talking an investment.
Yeah.
If I'm going to take that from you, I need to be ensured that it's in alignment with my personal mission.
Right.
If it's not in alignment with my mission, then kind of like you in the abundance mindset, I hate to break it to you, I don't need your money, first of all.
Yeah.
I'm good there.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this because it aligns with my purpose. Right?
Yeah.
I don't need your 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a month extra because I have enough abundance that I've built into my life already where that's not a requirement. However, yeah, I'd love to take it. Sure, cool. But only if it aligns with core values and the mission that I'm on. If I know for a fact that I could help you succeed further in business, cool, let's roll.
Yeah.
If you're just going to show up and go through the motions and not really do the work, then I'm not helping or serving you at the highest level. Therefore, even though you can afford it, I don't want your money.
Right. Well, that kind of goes back to what we said earlier in this podcast, focus, right?
Yeah.
You're focused, you know what you want, you know what I mean? And that focus goes through in all things. So it's easy to focus on who you want to hire. I want to if I hire someone that can at least follow directions the first fucking time. Let's start there, right? You know, so that's that's clarity, right? You've got that clarity on what you want to do, what your mission is, and where you're going, and you can come with me. Maybe, you know, and you got to get past this, and you know, so I think it's so important. But you know, everything's swimming around the same pool here, right? You know, your core values will dictate that. Your focus will dictate that. You know, who you're around will dictate that. You know, so I think it's, you know, you'll find the right people that way.
Yeah, it's just it's part of the process, man.
Yeah.
You have to get clear on some things up front in order to build the right process and get clarity on the process too.
Yeah, and I think it's some people. It's, you know, and myself, you know, included in this. You know, sometimes it's scary getting really clear because it drops off a lot of shit.
Yeah, it does.
Whether that be friends, whether that be family members, whether that be, you know, business associates, just anything. It's like, hey, man, like this isn't a line anymore, so we can go have a beer.
Yeah.
You know, but like we ain't doing this together anymore, or whatever it is, because this is where I'm going, and you know, maybe you're 3 strikes, man. Like you kind of just never done the shit that I'm doing. So hey man, let's move on.
Yeah, that's a tough transition to roll through, and you've clearly done it yourself.
Yeah.
I've been there myself as well, and you know, it's difficult because you're like, man, this person's been in my life. They've been an important piece in my life, even though they may have only been here for a season.
Yeah.
And you don't want to necessarily hurt someone's feelings, but at the same point in time, you have to understand and realize that by continuing to hang around with that person, you're going to ultimately self-sabotage yourself or lessen your chances of success.
Yeah.
So how bad do you really want it is the question I ask often. And if you want it bad enough, then you're going to do what's required in order for you to achieve that success.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's you ever heard that Eric Thomas speech? You gotta, you know, how bad do you want it? You know, more than breathing, you know? And that's, you know, I heard that, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And that's kind of like the first time you start hearing stuff like this, you know, on the internet and all that stuff. And that guy just gripped me with that. It's like, you know, you gotta want this more than you want to breathe. Well, I mean, if you can't breathe, you're going to eliminate a lot of shit that's keeping you from breathing, right? You know, I mean, whatever it is, you need fucking oxygen. And if the people or the situation you're in is depriving you of that oxygen, you're going to go find oxygen, right? Yeah. And so, but that's, you have to be that intently focused, or you'll just drown with everybody else, right?
Yeah, man,
so
for sure.
That's. Yeah,
I love it. Speaking of ET, he's coming to speak at our 2022 MDM.
Oh yeah,
June 3rd through 5th here in Frisco, Texas. We'll be at the Comerica Center.
God, don't miss that guy.
No, he's going to be fire. I'm excited to have him come in and see him. I've never seen him live all my years of doing this. Either. I'm really looking forward to that. And those tickets, by the time this podcast episode goes live, those tickets will also be live and launched. So we're looking forward to this. We're holding no punches back this year on that MDM event.
There's gonna be people like running through walls after he's done speaking.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a fucking bill from Comerica Park like, hey, people ran through brick walls after hearing this guy.
Someone stole the Zamboni and started driving to town Main Street.
Yeah. So don't miss that shit for sure. So
Awesome.
So.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming in here today. What's the best place for people to connect with you and learn more about what you got going on?
My Instagram is, I'm pretty active in there. It's at JB Merco. We also have the Mercer Company, Mercer-company.com, and then Matador Capital, Matador-capital.com, and it's the best way to get a hold of me. There's
cool, man.
All my contacts there. So
yeah, I really appreciate you coming in here today and having a really good high level conversation with me. It's not often that I can sit down with somebody and go back and forth and stay on the same wavelength and align. So I really appreciate it. It's awesome.
It's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.